Okay, just one more sanity check. Could somebody please acknowledge by typing yes if you can see my screen? There should be a title of the webinar, a conversation about Sikh education. Wonderful, thank you, whoever answered that. Thank you very much. So today we are going to be talking about Sikh education. I will start by sharing the story with you of somebody that I consider a Renaissance man. Now, a Renaissance man is somebody who has great accomplishments in a variety of different areas. And this individual that I want to talk about was one such person. In the photograph that you see on your screens, he shows up second from the right of the photograph. He was born in 1861 in Patiala State. His father was a Granthi, and when he was a young boy, he was precocious. By the age of 10, he was able to extensively quote from the Sri Gurugranth Sahib and the Dasam Granth. He never had formal training or went to college, was very much an autodidact, taught himself Sanskrit, learned Persian, entered the service of various princely states, and then came into the orbit of some of the key figures in the Singh Sabha movement. Most notably by Gurmukh Singh Ji, who was the leading light of the very progressive Lahore Singh Sabha. This young man went on to become a scholar of Sikhi, went on to write several groundbreaking works which have stood the test of time and are still some of the most important reference works on Sikhism today. Still as a young man, he came into contact with Max Arthur McAuliffe, a British scholar, who worked with him very closely and used him as his primary resource as he worked on his own opus, the Sikh religion, which was published, probably one of the first works in English that was published from a very Sikh perspective. And when this work was finally published, it is said that the copyright to this work was turned over to this Renaissance man that we're talking about, who traveled to England with him. He was an extraordinary person in a variety of different ways, but today we want to talk about his unique contributions to Sikh education. Several of you, through all of the clues and hints that I gave you, have probably figured out already that the person that I refer to is none other than the incomparable Bhai Sahib Karn Singh Nabha, whose accomplishments are dizzying. Today, I want to talk about one of his accomplishments, which is generally considered to be his greatest contribution. And this was an encyclopedia of Sikhism that he started in 1912 called the Gur Shabad Ratnakar Mahan Kosh, which is known to most of us as the Mahan Kosh. This was a work that it took him 14 years to complete. When it was done, what he had created was a fabulous resource for the study of Sikhism. More than 65,000 entries on just about any topic that you could ever imagine. And those of you who have personally engaged with the Mahan Kosh know exactly what I'm talking about. There certainly was not until then, and there has not been a resource created since then that comes close to the Mahan Kosh in terms of the richness of its content and its comprehensiveness. One visionary man's work spanning 14 years created this fabulous resource for Sikh education, which 100 years later has not been paralleled in any kind of manner. So perhaps you're thinking, how is this relevant to Sikh education today? Why is he talking about somebody who did this, created this wonderful work 100 years ago? Well, stay with me for a few minutes and it'll become apparent. Before I talk about an exciting new project that I'm involved with, I would actually like to pose the question, of course, a rhetorical question, since you're all muted at this point. Why Sikh education? Why is it important? Perhaps you're thinking that's a very obvious question. All of us understand why it's important. That's why we're here in this webinar. Well, I would like to share a few anecdotes from my personal journey and help you get a sense of how I've been impacted by Sikh education. First and foremost, of course, as a student, because you never stop learning, and then after that, as a teacher. I have to tell these stories with a couple of caveats. In no way, shape, or form am I implying that I've accomplished anything tremendous as a Sikh or a Sikh educator, nor do I lay any claim to being even a particularly good Sikh. But this much that I will tell you, that today my identity means a great deal to me in many different ways, in many profound ways, the culmination of which was the great gift of Khandevi Pahul, which I gratefully accepted just a few years ago, fairly late in life. So my identity is tremendously important to me, and I want to share with you my journey and what interactions I had with teachers who shaped my journey and created in me this passion about Sikh education. The photograph that you see here, the elderly person in the photograph that you see, is the late Gyani Dayal Singh Ji, who has been one of the leading musicologists in the Sikh Panth. He's no more, he passed away a few years ago. Also in the photograph you see Bhai Kanwarpal Singh, Bhai Surjit Singh, his students from the Rakabganj Gurmat Vidyalaya, who easily rank among the foremost ragis in the Panth today. And at the bottom you see a picture of the cover of one of his several books, Gurmat Sangeet Sagar, the fourth volume. Gyani Dayal Singh Ji was one of the several individuals who shaped my journey. A lifelong teacher, he also created these tremendous resources in terms of the ragis that he taught, and most importantly, the old compositions from the treasure trove that he had collected over his lifetime that he documented in these 4 volumes and other works that he did. This photograph is of Bhai Sahib Avtar Singh Ji and his Jatha actually singing in my home several years ago during one of their visits. And the graphic that you see below is the cover of his book, Gurbani Sangeet Prachin Reet Ratnavali, which is similarly an invaluable resource for the study of Gurmat Sangeet. My journey in Gurmat Sangeet was not easy. It can be an abstruse topic, inaccessible. There are some teachers out there, they're not very easy to get a hold of, and the subject matter to the uninitiated can be challenging. I was fortunate enough to encounter individuals like these fairly early in my journey who not only inspired me, but gave me the tools that I needed both to learn and then to teach. And just as a quick aside, interactions with Gyani Ji and Bhai Sahib Ji led to the creation of the Gurmat Sangeet project several years ago that I'm sure several of you are somewhat familiar with. The key thing that I want to emphasize is that I had to stumble through a lot of different steps, painful steps often, to even get to a fundamental understanding of Gurmat Singhi to the point where I could really start sharing with someone else. And that leads me to think, wouldn't it be interesting? Wouldn't it be amazing if everyone didn't have to go through that long, tortuous journey, and if there were resources out there that were easily accessible that could lower the threshold and make this a little easier for somebody who wanted to embrace Gurmat Singhi. Going back to my personal journey, I had the good fortune, I came to this country about 27, 28 years ago, a young man. My story is actually quite typical of several young people who came from India, from upper middle class households who were immersed in Western culture, really didn't have a very strong connection to their faith. I was definitely one of them. I had my case, but honestly, the primary reason why I had my case was not out of any sense of identity or attachment to my faith, but because having seen instances in my family where someone's giving up their identity caused tremendous trauma, it was really kindness to my parents more than anything else that sort of kept my identity intact. And things could have gone either way. But I was fortunate to encounter several individuals, a couple of whom I've mentioned, and others who greatly inspired me. And as I started to immerse myself in Gurmat Singhi, I started pondering my identity, the fact that I looked different from everyone else around me. And of course, at some level, I understood that I was a Sikh and this is what Sikhs looked like. But the identity, honestly, was still not very meaningful to me. All that changed when I started immersing myself in reading. And of course, I had grown up in eastern India, in Sikkim, out of the Punjab Gurmukhi. So I was limited to reading books that were written in English, and through happy circumstance, I chanced upon these two books, A History of the Sikhs by J.D. Cunningham and The Sikh Religion, the Max Arthur McAuliffe's opus that we talked about earlier as well. And there were many others, but these were the two books that I primarily read. And as I started reading, I felt my eyes opening, and I wanted to read more, and I found more books. I'm not a big fan of Khushwant Singh's, but I tell you that his 2-volume History of the Sikhs, which is essentially an updated version of J.D. Cunningham's book, is very well written, very accessible, well researched. Got a great deal out of it. And of course, this journey took years. Without knowing it, by the time I was more or less immersed in all of this, something very strange started happening. I started connecting with my identity in a deep and profound manner. When I looked at myself in the mirror and saw my case, I was reminded of those doughty warriors and Sikhs in the 18th century who had to essentially gamble with their lives every day just to be a Sikh. The magnificent rebellion of Baba Bota Singh and Garja Singh, who captured a bridge on the way to Amritsar and declared Khalsa Raj. The actions of Sukhdev Singh and Mehtab Singh, and countless other Sikh heroes, those who stood up to Zakaria Khan and invaders like Ahmad Shah Abdali. Every time I beheld a Sabat Surat Sikh, that's what came to my mind. So this is what I'm left with. We come to love our faith from a variety of different paths. Some of us are inspired by great teachers. Others are inspired by grandparents. I personally was inspired by our history. And I can tell you this, those of us who are older and have children and have grandchildren are often wondering, what is that secret sauce that we are going to use to keep our next generation attached to our faith? my experience, I mean, it may be dangerous to extrapolate from personal experience, but my experience is that once I understood the history, the struggle that had forged the identity that I was privileged to have, I embraced it fully and unequivocally. And that brings me back to education again. The world is changing. We're obviously more concerned about the next generation and generations to come. Attention spans are becoming shorter. I mean, wouldn't it be wonderful if every young person that we want to positively influence would read all of these books and the many other books in Gurmukhi that are available? But we need to be pragmatic. The world is changing. Attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. And we just can't live in a utopian world where every person is a scholar light, at least, and tries to engage with all of the material that still exists. There has to be a different way of distilling the essence of history. I haven't even started talking about Gurbani yet, and Gurmat Sangeet, and everything else that underpins our magnificent faith. There has to be some way of making this accessible, making this ubiquitous, making this easy for everyone to engage with. With this background, I would like to now talk about a very exciting project that I'm involved with. It's called Sikya, and I'm actually going to roll a short video by way of introduction, and I'm not quite sure how well the technology is going to hold up, so if people have difficulty seeing or hearing, please do type in the panel that you have available to you.
The world of education is changing.
Colleges are going online.
There are 30 million students of Sikh. Haven't they been? Where have all we run?
At Sikhia, we've redefined Sikh education.
With our team at Sarbpreet Innovation, we're building the Khan Academy for Sikh.
A learning tool for me and me.
And me.
And me. And me.
Sikya will be comprehensive.
It will allow me to learn about Gurbani and Gurugranth Sahib and Sikh history.
And just about anything anyone ever wants to learn.
And the best part is that I can learn anything.
Anywhere.
When I want to. Sikya will have videos. Short videos and fun quizzes that adapt to my needs. Videos that make learning fun.
Sikya will have courses.
Courses taught by the best teachers in the world.
Going to top school will actually be fun.
Sikya is new.
Sikya is exciting.
There is nothing else like Sikya out there.
I'm proud to be part of Sikya.
I'm proud to be a part of Sikya. I'm proud to be a part of Sikya.
Me too. I'm also proud to be part of Sikya.
You can be part of Sikya too.
Check out Sikya.
Sikya.org.
Learn.
Teach. Create videos. Get mentors.
Earn scholarships.
Help make Sikh education cool.
So I'm hoping that that brief introduction piqued your interest a little, at least, and left you wanting to know a little more. So let's talk about Sikya. Sikya is an online learning platform that is world-class, and most importantly, it is a anytime, anywhere learning platform that can be engaged with at the convenience of every individual who wishes to learn. And here, in a nutshell, is the learning philosophy of Sikya. The fundamental premise is that connecting with your faith will make you a better human being and bring you success. I'm going to say something now that's going to make anyone who has been involved with educating young Sikhs, or if you're parents of young Sikhs who go to various Khalsa schools and places where they learn, I'm probably getting a lot of head nods right now, and this has certainly been my experience teaching for almost 22, 23 years. Finding credible content on Sikhi is difficult. Even if the content can be found, finding a lot of competent teachers to teach the content is difficult. Even if the teachers can be found, sustaining their interest over many, many years is difficult. These are issues that all of us have faced, and the intent of the Sikya platform is to try and solve them very comprehensively. Sikya essentially gives us a couple of things. First and foremost, high-quality courses taught by the best teachers in the world. I am sure all of you are aware of the changes in education. The Khan Academy has been a pioneer in online education. There are companies like Coursera and Udacity and the joint MIT-Harvard initiative edX, which are used to deliver university courses online. Sikya will have courses in the same vein, comprised of multiple videos, short videos, each addressing a specific concept, followed by either an exercise or a quiz intended to test understanding of the concept, taught by the best teachers of the world in their fields. For instance, our first Gurmat Sangeet course is going to be delivered by Bhai Sahib Kultar Singh Ji, who is a 12th generation Kirtaniya and the son of Bhai Avtar Singh Ji, who we talked about earlier. The second thing that Sikya will have will be a large set of high-quality short videos on just about any topic that you can think of, prepared through a highly curated process. Now, if you take this to its logical conclusion, if we think 10 years out, what will Sikya have wrought? The goal is that Sikya will have many courses, and in addition to these courses, 100,000 short videos. Short videos each addressing a concept on just about anything that anyone can want to learn about Sikhi. Does that strike a chord? Let's go back to Bhai Karn Singh Nabha and the Mahan Kosh. The Mahan Kosh is a magnificent resource, and those of us who are able to access it and will be able to access it will continue to use it. But there is a large population out there which for various reasons will not be able to access it or will not access it. Sikya intends to be an online encyclopedia of Sikhi that is in the spirit of the Mahan Kosh and has the breadth in terms of topics of addressing just about anything that anyone would ever want to learn about Sikhi. Will it happen overnight? No, of course not. But the journey has begun, and we will get there. Learning with Sikya is personalized. Sikya will provide tools that will let you control your learning path. You decide which topics you want to engage with, and then you decide how deep you want to go into those topics. Sikya will build strong foundations and confidence in learners. It'll break down content into skills through these short videos, each focused on a concept, and all of these will connect to form a larger whole when it comes to understanding. Sikya is intended to encourage its audience, and here we're talking about mostly the young audience, which is hugely important to us from a Panthic point of view. It will strengthen motivation through contests, rewards, and I'm not going to talk at length about the scholarship. I will talk about that in a little further down the presentation after giving you a little more context. But the whole intent is to take our young people and engage them in this endeavor in very meaningful ways, motivate them, and leverage their creativity to build this tool, which will hopefully be comprehensive and self-sustaining. So just to reiterate, Sikya will offer many courses and videos, and this is by no means an exhaustive list. The language and grammar of the Sri Gurugranth Sahib, the lives of the Gurus, Sikh history, Gurmat Sangeet, contemporary issues, the sky's the limit. Equally importantly, Sikya will offer a plethora of tools for both parents and Khalsa schools to essentially help manage education programs. We are extremely hopeful that Khalsa schools over time will embrace the content. And oh, by the way, another thing to emphasize is that there are pockets of excellence in Sikh education all around the world. And you know, several of you know about the groundbreaking Khalsa schools. I mean, I'll talk about a couple that I'm familiar with. I know there's great work being done in the San Jose Khalsa School, educating a large number of students, and it's been going on for several years. I know the Seattle community has been very proactive in education, and there are many examples of, as I said, pockets of excellence. And the intent in Sikya is absolutely to not reinvent the wheel. Wherever we find great content, we want to work with the producers of this content and essentially facilitate bringing that into the Sikya platform. Will this work? Sounds pretty ambitious. I've somewhat teasingly alluded to the fact that our young people will be engaged in building content for Sikya, and some of you may be scratching your heads, like I was the first time I heard about Sikya, and I'll talk about that a little later. So is this likely to work? Sounds ambitious. Let's look at an example, and then I'll tell you a little more about the example.
Gurugranth Sahib is the central scriptural canon of the Sikhs. This repository of infinite wisdom and knowledge was first compiled by the fifth Guru, Gurugranth Sahib, in 1604, before subsequently being affirmed as the final perpetual Guru of the Sikhs by the 10th living Sikh Guru, Gurugranth Sahib, in 1708. You mind? As you can see, the Gurugranth Sahib is written entirely in the Gurmukhi script, formulated by the second Sikh Guru, Guru Angad Sahib, and is composed entirely of the writings of the 10 Sikh Gurus, expressed solely in their native mother language, Punjabi.
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਹੁਣੇ ਪਹੁੰਚਣ ਲੱਗਾ ਹਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਬਸ ਮੈਟ੍ਰਿਕਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਫਸ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ
Furthermore, Gurugranth Sahib was originally printed in.
I hear you want to learn more about the history of Gurugranth Sahib.
Who is
Doesn't matter for us. Come with me. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Gurugranth Sahib is about. Something you must experience. Remember, after this, there is no turning back. Take the moon and wake up tomorrow in your bed, believing whatever you want to believe. Take the red pen, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, on is the truth.
the red pill?
It doesn't matter where we are. What matters is what you know. The writings canonized within the Sri Gurugranth Sahib were actually composed across multiple regions of the Indian subcontinent and contained the teachings not only of 6 Sikh gurus, but also 15 Buddhist philosophers from a wide array of religious backgrounds, 11 bards of the Guru's court, and 3 Sikh disciples. Contributors span a time range that begins in the 12th century with Bhagat Jayadeva and extends all the way to the 17th century, with the final contributor, Gurudeva Bahadur Sahib. The geographic span is also vast, ranging from Bhagat Sadhana in Sindh to Bhagat Jayadeva in Bengal, from Sheikh Farid in Multan to Bhagat Namdev in Maharashtra. This panoply of regions and time periods means that multiple Indic languages are encountered, including Sadhu Bhasha, the most commonly employed, medieval Punjabi, Farsi, and ancient languages such as Apranch and Prakrit, both of which are over 1,500 years old. The vocabulary used subsequently draws from an assortment of religious traditions, whether they be Vedantic, Yogic, or Islamic.
Wow. I truly had no idea about the remarkable diversity of the Gurugranth Sahib, both in terms of the languages used, and also the different faith backgrounds of many of the contributors involved. For me, this truly represents the core Sikh belief that connection with the divine is open to those from any background.
But wait, surely this linguistic diversity poses a significant challenge for Sikhs today. If one doesn't comprehend or have a knowledge of Sadhu Bhasha, medieval Punjabi, or Braj, how does one comprehend the Guru's message? Morpheus Baji, how do we address this critical issue? What is the answer? I need an answer.
I cannot give you an answer, but I can show you one.
What is this?
Free your mind.
This is Gurmukhi, I can't read this.
Free your mind. Free your mind.
I know Kung Fu.
What?
Never mind. Can you tell me what this means? I need to know what this means.
I don't have to tell you, brother. I can just show it to you on my providing machine. It utilizes the latest in misleading translation technology. Found it. The author Kabir says, in my previous life, I did not practice penance and intense meditation. Then he asked the Lord, what will my condition be? I left Benares. I had no common sense.
Pardon me, gentlemen, but I think this translation is utter nonsense. I don't think Bhagat Kabirji is doubting his decision to leave Kasi. In fact, he's trying to highlight the common superstition of the time and challenging it by leaving Kasi for Maghar.
What?
Look at the SikhRI over here.
What are you talking about?
The grammar.
In the interest of time, and to give you a little bit of homework from the webinar, I'm going to get back to the presentation so that we have ample time left for questions. And certainly we can provide a link to where the video can be found. In fact, I'm going to show you where the video can be found. What you see on the screen right now is the Sikya website. The Sikya platform has been launched. It is live and active at the moment. Without spending a lot of time getting into the nitty-gritty, because we really don't have the time to do that in today's conversation. The engine that drives Sikya is a number of different challenges. Each challenge is a well-defined project that gives people who respond to the challenge, who are intended to be mostly young people responding to Sikya, it defines a prompt, it provides resource material, and then it also provides thought-provoking questions that they have to address with their response, which has to be in the form of a video. So going backwards, the video that you just saw corresponds to this particular challenge, the multidimensionality of the Gurugranth Sahib. And in the challenge are some fundamental questions. The questions in this challenge were, who were the various contributors to the Sri Gurugranth Sahib? What languages and dialects appear in the Sri Gurugranth Sahib? And you saw the video addressing, the subset of the video that we viewed, saw it addressing these questions. There are usually some thought-provoking questions. What challenges does the diversity of languages in the Sri Gurugranth Sahib pose to modern students of Gurbani? How might these challenges be addressed? You're going to have to go back and find the video for you to learn how those very innovative young people respond to these questions. So just to reiterate again, the way the process works is the Sikya platform defines a number of challenges, provides the resources, provides the support in terms of mentoring, storyboarding, and so on. And in response, our users participate in these contests, creating videos. An expert panel judges these videos, and the videos that are deemed worthy become a part of the Sikya platform, or in other words, this encyclopedic resource that we are working together to create for the month. And I'm sure this is going to provoke many questions because I've given you just a little teaser. So let me just cover a couple of very quick things and then pause so that all of you can weigh in, react, and ask any questions that you might have. So as I said, the platform is live and running. There are many different ways for you to get involved. First and foremost, sign up for a free account. Invite your friends to learn with you. Create little groups so that you can work on projects together. Create innovative content for Sikya. And most importantly, give us your daswand. This is a project which is going to require a lot of hard work. We are engaging the best experts in their respective fields to deliver the courses. We would love for all of this to be done on the basis of seva, but the approach that we're taking is we're going to the best and we're going to compensate them. We're going to pay them fair compensation to create top-notch content for Sikya. We are going to award scholarships. So there was reference to a grand scholarship. So every year, the young people who participate in Sikya will accrue, by submitting videos, will accrue points. At the end of the year, there will be a live recognition event in which a grand scholarship of $20,000 will be awarded. Other scholarships will be awarded as well. In addition, Sikya is building this rich stable of mentors, Sikhs who are leaders in just about any field that you can imagine, and these mentors will be available to Sikya participants to use as sounding boards to seek advice on colleges, careers, and so on and so forth. So if you step back and look at everything that I've shared with you, the grand vision is to create a very accessible, easy to use resource for anytime, anywhere learning, which is going to have the breadth and the comprehensiveness someday of the Mahan Kosh. This is going to be self-perpetuating. It is going to be scalable. and it harnesses the latest technologies that are being used by all the leading companies that I talked about to deliver online content. Just a quick word about where the Sikya concept came from. Sikya is the brainchild of Sarbpreet Singh, who several of you I'm sure know well. Sarbpreet is a recent PhD from Harvard. He's an entrepreneur. He's a co-founder of the Sikh Coalition. When he first shared his vision with me, I was dazzled. And of course, at that time, I had no plans to be involved with the Sikya project from an operational point of view. But after a little bit of reflection, the thought that came to mind was, oh my goodness, he's trying to build a new Mahan Kosh. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. So Sarbpreet, with his team at the Harvard Innovation Lab, has been responsible for both the vision and for the implementing of the platform. I have overall responsibility for managing the Sikya project and getting it to fruition. Just by way of background, though my most recent endeavors and adventures have been on the creative side with the play Kultar's Mime and other things that I've been writing and the Gurugranth Sahib project, my career has mostly been in technology. And then the third person who makes up the core team of Sikya is, of course, Harinder Singh, the co-founder and CEO of SikhRI. We are starting to build and assemble a top-notch team. Jasmine Kaur, who several of you know, she's done a lot of work on the Sikh curriculum. Soji is part of the Sikya team. And we, of course, have external consultants who are helping us with various things, including marketing. And as Your Daswand comes in, we will be expanding the project in terms of bringing in more top-notch people. And then our hope is that when all of this is done, we will have created a resource that truly redefines Sikh education. So this is the formal part of the presentation. I would actually now like to turn this over to Navneet so that she can moderate the Q&A session.
Okay. So everyone, thank you, Sarbpreet Singh. That was wonderful. For anyone who has questions, please, if you would like to ask your question, let me know that you have a mic, or you can just type it in the questions box. Does anyone have any questions?
I hope I didn't put everyone to sleep.
And also, when you ask your questions, please let us know what city you're from. Okay. So we have a question from Suneet Singh Tulli. You mentioned there are great pockets of excellence around the world focused on Sikh education. What efforts are being made to approach them?
Okay, that's a wonderful question. Sikya is just sort of starting to be launched at this point. We have been active for a few months, and this is one of a series of conversations that we are taking to communities all over North America for now. Just to give you some specifics, even though Sikya is very much an online platform and the bulk of the work on Sikya will be done online, as a seeding strategy, we have defined these live one-day events called hackathons, in which we go to various cities. So for instance, there's a hackathon coming to the Boston area in October. in early October. There's a second one coming to the Bay Area on the 31st of October. There's a third one coming to Seattle in November. We've already had 3 live events so far. And by the way, we will be very interested in hearing from communities who would like to host a hackathon in their neck of the woods. What would happen in a hackathon would be we would get together 40, 50 young people along with their teachers and mentors, give them a little bit of training, and then cut them loose on a bunch of challenges that they will work on during a day. And at the end of the day, they will essentially turn in their videos. So getting back to the question that was asked, through these hackathons that we are taking to various places, we will engage with various communities, and it will be a tremendous opportunity for us to essentially try and leverage whatever work is being done in these communities into the Sikya platform. To be very specific, I talked about San Jose as one of the oldest and most successful Gurdwara-based Sikh education programs. I'm already in touch with Veerji, Dr. Gurugranth Singh, and Panji Pushpinder Kaurji, and they are going to be key elements of our hackathon there. And one of the things that we'll be exploring with them is looking at content that's been generated there that we can bring into the Sikya platform. Similarly, there are other endeavors that we as a team are aware of that we are approaching, but then our hope is that as the Sikya platform becomes more and more known, people will raise their hands and say, we have this, and we'd like to offer this for inclusion in the Sikya platform. And then we'll work with them to, quote, Sikyafy it in terms of turning it into easily digestible videos and so on and so forth. But that's the process that we will use. And just as a matter of academic interest, this is exactly how the Gurmat Sangeet project grew. So we started out with a small bunch of recordings, and then we had people from all over the world starting to send us stuff. And I'm very hopeful that as knowledge of Sikya proliferates, we are going to find many, many, many opportunities for collaboration. So this was part 1 of the answer. Part 2 of the answer, we are constantly looking for other entities who are already doing this kind of work, creating compelling videos, and we've already started reaching out to some of them to see if there's an opportunity to collaborate. In some cases, we would want to outsource the development of content to them. In other cases, they may have content that we can incorporate into the platform, again, through our curated process. So those are some of the ways in which we want to not reinvent the wheel and leverage any pockets of excellence that exist already. And by the way, as a response to this, I know we have a fairly large audience today. If any of you are personally involved with such endeavors, please definitely get back to us.
Great. We have a question from Jess from New Jersey asking, can anyone like kids create videos?
Absolutely, unequivocally, yes. And that is exactly the way the process is intended to be. No one who creates videos is expected to be a subject matter expert. If I could say this tongue in cheek, think of this as one of those companies that are selling packages of ingredients to prepare gourmet meals. So we give you all the ingredients to create the video. We give you the prompt, we give you the resources, the references, we give you the questions to be answered, and we also give you a mentor that you can bounce the storyboard off of and come to for advice, and if you need help interpreting any of the source material. So yes, this is absolutely open. Now, we will be creating challenges of varying degrees of difficulty. There might be some challenges that are better addressed by, let's say, somebody who's 18 and above. There may be other challenges that are very suitable for younger children. But at the end of the day, the way the platform is intended to work is it's absolutely open. Anyone can engage, and we welcome it. We want a great diversity of people engaging with the platform.
Great, thank you. I am going to combine two questions. Sunith Khalsa from Ottawa, Canada is asking, do you need volunteers? And Shilpi Singh is asking, could you describe the process of Sikya? If someone would, instead of creating videos, how would they get involved?
Okay, the answer is yes. We need volunteers in every city because we're bringing the hackathons everywhere. The Toronto hackathon is being planned for January. We will be publishing dates. Anywhere we go, we need volunteers for the hackathons. Other than that, there are many, many ways of engaging. If you are of scholarly bent, we can definitely use volunteers who can help us create challenges. If you're an organizer, we would love for you to spread the word within your community, organize a hackathon, recruit people. There are many different ways in which you can engage, and yes, absolutely, we want engaged volunteers.
All right, moving on. Thank you. Sukhmani Kaur from London, UK is asking if there is a target age group for each course, or is it general?
Great question. So we are working on a variety of courses. Some of our courses that we are outsourcing to subject matter experts are directed at adults. Some of the other courses that we are building directed at a middle school audience. Again, the important thing to understand is that we are limited by a couple of things. One of them, of course, is funding. If we are able to raise a larger war chest, that gives us the ability to attack more things in parallel. But yes, the intent is to be very comprehensive. My suspicion is that a lot of the initial videos and a lot of the initial courses will continue on this dual track. We will be developing a few courses for adults with subject matter experts, and we'll be developing a lot of content for the middle school audience. And the reason for that is the audience which is the most present at gurdwaras and khalsa schools, and we want to be able to serve them as quickly as we can.
Great. Amrik Bamra from Salisbury, UK says this is an amazing venture. What market survey had you undertaken before launching this venture?
I would say that this is an absolutely unique endeavor. This was Sarbpreet Singh's brainchild. And it really leverages some of the most cutting edge things that you see in the secular world. I'm talking about, online delivery platforms for courses. I'm talking about crowdsourcing. I'm talking about crowdfunding. There is no other religious community which is trying to use technology and community engagement in this manner to build a teaching resource. Of course, we have looked at some of the best-in-class outfits out there that we would like to emulate in various ways. In fact, one of the best ways in which we pithily describe Sikya is we're building something like a Khan Academy for the Sikh community. So we have looked at what's out there in the secular world, but really we're not aware of anything else that's similar that has been launched or is even in process right now.
Okay. Amrik Bamra also asks, do you foresee any opposition resistance from the traditional Sikh teaching establishments?
I would hope not, and part of that hope comes from the fact that I'm an eternal glasses half full kind of person. But joking aside, the philosophy and vision of Sikya is very inclusive. The core of Sikya does not have any claim to exclusivity of knowledge about Sikhi. We have to do this together. And, I personally absolutely recognize that some of the real excellence that we have sits in the heads of those very traditional experts that you talked about, We want to invite them into Sikya. I mean, think about it. Wouldn't it be exciting if until now you had been a professor somewhere in the Punjab, doing very well and teaching your students, and now all of a sudden you have a platform that gives you the ability to reach thousands and tens of thousands of students all around the world. And oh, by the way, you get compensated for it as well. I think that's a pretty good deal. And hopefully that would bring the traditional teachers to engage with us. We certainly want them.
We have an off-topic question from Paris Basine from Los Angeles. I would love to hear your views on keeping hair in modern times. If you have the time to answer that question right now, Virji. We have another question from Sunit Khalsa. How do you decide the length and breadth of topics? How do you ensure that a specific topic is covered in its entirety?
Okay, I will acknowledge that we really don't have the time to do justice to the first question. Rehat is, a fundamental issue to talk about, and obviously Sikya will address it. I did talk about it briefly at the start of the conversation, which the person asking the question may have missed. To me, an understanding of who we are and where we came from comprehensively answers that question, but then perhaps, that's narrowly from my experience, and I'm biased. I would love to engage with that person offline, and I think we should make sure that my email address is published at the end of this conversation and talk about this one-on-one. Let me address the second question, which is more germane to today's discussion. We have a finite set of resources. There is a large number of topics to be addressed. The way we are going about picking and choosing what we want to do is we want to really focus on the pressing needs of the community, our target audience, and also balance that with the subject matter experts that we have access to. So that's one way of answering the question in terms of deciding what we focus on first. I'll answer the question more narrowly in the context of the hackathons and the crowdsourcing part of Sikya, which is done through the young people who engage with the platform. Here what we try to do is every time we have a live event where we have young people responding to challenges, we work with their local teachers and mentors to try and create challenges that align with topics that that group of young people is already engaging with. And of course, this has many positive side effects. First and foremost, they end up working on things that they are already somewhat familiar with. It reinforces what they know, and it also ends up making it a very accretive and useful experience to those local teachers. So those are some of the ways in which we are deciding, what to address first. I think the issue is one of timing. Sikya has every intention of being comprehensive in the spirit of Bhai Singh Nabha's Mahan Kosh. So eventually we will try to do it all, no matter how ambitious that sounds. In the short term, of course, we have to pick and choose and focus, and those are some of the ways in which we're doing it.
That's great. We have Sunit Singh Toli saying that he is willing to help out, and I have his contact information, which I will pass on to you, Sarbpreet Singh.
Brilliant, thank you.
Is there any more questions that anyone would like to ask Sarbpreet Singh? I guess not. I actually have a question, Virji. In terms of these videos that are being created, how are you, or who is going to, monitor that the information being shared is correct?
Great question. And this goes to the heart of the crowdsourcing process in Sikya. Every video that enters Sikya will come in through a curated process, And there will be a couple of ways in which this process will be implemented. Let's first focus on the whole challenge process and videos that are created by young people, either in live events or by going to the Sikya platform website, finding challenges that they want to respond to, and then coming up with videos. So the way in which the curated part of the process works is they will always be working with a Sikya content mentor. The person that we have on board to do this right now is Jasmine Kaur, that I'm sure many of you know well. So when the storyboard is ready, it will need to be bounced off of the mentor. Remember that there will always be known good references provided. Of course, this doesn't imply that people responding to the video can only refer to those references. They can certainly go to other references as well. But by and large, what we see happening is that most people who respond stick to the references that they've been given, which have already been vetted, and then the connection with the content mentor throughout the process is what ensures that the content is factually correct and is consistent with the philosophy of Sikya. So that's the most important tool that we have for curating content that comes in. Well, once we start adopting content from other sources, there is, of course, a very similar curated process in place where everything that goes in is carefully evaluated.
Sorry, you cut out, Virgie.
Oh gosh,
Just the last sentence.
Oh, the last part I was saying was that if we were to say go to a video production house that already had 50 videos on various Sikh topics, they would have to pass through the curation filter before they got into Sikya, and that involves having a Sikya panel which will evaluate any content which is going to be incorporated into the platform.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I'm just going to ask again before we close if there are any other topics that, any other questions that anyone wants to ask Sarbpreet Singh.
I'm going to type out my address. I'm not sure how this works and whether everyone will be able to see it. If not, then Navneet, I'll count on you on making sure that everybody has my email if people want to engage.
Definitely.
I would like to thank everyone in the audience for being here, engaging, and for asking some brilliant questions. I hope you're leaving this webinar with at least a fraction of the excitement that I have about the Sikya platform. We would love to stay in touch with you. We need your help. Volunteer. If you have children, grandchildren, peers, encourage them to participate. And I cannot emphasize this enough. This was not a fundraising call by any means, but Your Daswand is a critical element of making this happen. So we would love to hear from you if you want to support our project. I'm just typing up my email, and I look forward to engaging with you further. Thank you so much.
Virgie, we have two questions that popped up. And we do have time to answer them. So Gurugranth Singh asks, in addition to videos, what other resources will be available for the learners on the Sikya platform?
Great question. So our content is primarily going to be delivered through videos. That said, the subject matter expert courses, which will also be a series of videos, can and will, in certain cases, be supplemented by other materials. For instance, if an academic was creating a course about, let's say, a particular Bani, And in addition to their 20 videos, they could perhaps give you 2 to 3 papers that they wanted you to read. So there could be supplemental things such as reading material. If someone was delivering a Gurmat Sangeet course, they may want to give you 5 recordings to illustrate certain concepts that they were trying to explain. So there will be supplemental material in the subject matter expert courses. As far as the standalone videos are concerned, they will truly be standalone. The concept will be explained through a video.
Great. Mani Singh asks, how would Sikya address call to action on issues facing the community here and back home, like lack of knowledge of Gurmukhi, political prisoners, deras, etc.?
Not everything can address, no particular platform, organization, or context can address all the issues that the Panth has to deal with. I think that what Sikya deals with will self-select. This is first and foremost an education platform. So addressing learning Gurbani, yes, absolutely, we will address that in the Sikya platform. More topical issues that require short turnaround actions and call to actions, I think, are beyond the scope of Sikya. And I think we should all be very happy that there are multiple organizations within the Panth that continue to do an outstanding job addressing those kinds of issues, issues that have immediacy in a very, very efficient manner. Sikya's focus will very much be on education. Now, I will emphasize, though, that with the breadth of Sikya, we definitely will try to address very contemporary cultural issues that the community deals with, but these will not necessarily be things that are related to call to actions or anything that has to be dealt with immediacy.
Okay, thank you. Guramrit Singh has a follow-up. How can the learners track their progress? Will there be suggested milestones for the learner?
Yes, so not all of those aspects of the platform are up and live right now, but definitely there will be tools provided so that learners can track their learning in a very personalized kind of manner, absolutely.
We have a comment from Gagandeep Chadda. Knowledge is power, and we appreciate your participation in this web seminar. Finding accurate information regarding Sikhi is a challenge we wish to have overcome. This will help us understand ourselves as Sikhs with greater depth. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for that comment, and yes, that's you've nailed it. That's exactly what we're aspiring to do.
Are there any other questions? And I just wanted to, before, if there's any last questions, we have about 7 minutes. Sarbpreet Singh wrote his email in the chat box if you haven't noticed it. Or you can, if you have a pen quickly, I can read it out to you. It's sarpreet.singh@sikhri.org, and Sarbpreet is spelled Sarbpreet. If there are no more questions, I will close. Sarbpreet Singh, you can hand over the screen to me. I would like to thank all of you for your questions and taking the time out to be part of this webinar. My apologies if any questions were not addressed due to time constraints. Please be reminded that these webinars are provided for free, but there is a cost associated with its technology and administration. If you feel you have benefited from this particular webinar or others in the past, please consider making a donation to SikhRI or becoming a webinar sponsor. More details can be obtained in the follow-up email you will receive or by emailing info@sikhri.org. A reminder to everyone, please wait a few seconds for the link to appear on the follow-up survey. Your feedback is extremely important to the Sikh Research Institute, and we appreciate your time. And I would like to hand it over to Sarbpreet Singh to offer some closing comments.
Okay, so I don't have a great deal to say other than thanking the audience for participating and Navneet thanking you for facilitating. Sikya is, there are many exciting things happening at the Sikh Research Institute. I'm involved with a couple of them. By far, Sikya is the most exciting project that I am personally involved with. From the day that Harinder Singh and Harpreet Singh shared their vision with me several months ago in a totally different context, I have been captivated and engaged. And as I immerse myself further in this project, as we get this implemented, my excitement has grown tenfold. We are on the cusp of something significant. This is a game changer. I am very excited to be part of this Sikh Research Institute project, and I would encourage all of you to engage in any way that you can. Thank you.
As I end this webinar, thank you again, Sarbpreet Singh, for your presentation, and thank you to all of you who have joined us wherever you are in this world, and enjoy the rest of your day or your evening. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.